What's going on, guys? Austin Zaback here with another episode of the Austin Zaback Show. And today we have actually an agent on the Zaback group, okay? One of my real estate agents that I brought on the show, and he's an absolute rock star, okay? He's young, he's hungry, and he actually dominated his first couple of years in Washington, okay? He bought a bunch of Airbnb properties and he's killed the game. And he did a lot of real estate, okay? For being as young as he is, like, you have to watch the episode. If you're a real estate agent and you're looking to close more deals, you're looking to buy your first investment property, whatever you're trying to do, like, this is a dude that I'm about to interview right now that I'm not kidding. Like, you're gonna wanna stay until the very end. So I would love if you would just go ahead, sit back, relax, and stay to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching.
Year two, jumped it up a little bit to about 30 for about 8 or 9 million in between there. I did a lot of open houses. I was doing like 4 open houses a weekend for like almost a year straight.
Wow. Today, we have a very special guest by the name of Braylon Hanson. Hanson, right?
That's correct.
Braylon Hanson, and this guy's an absolute rock star. He's a real estate agent. He's actually now a part of the Zaback group, the One Roof family. But he was not always. As a matter of fact, he's brand new to our team, and he actually moved down here from Washington, and he's just been dominating the real estate game, and I'm excited to pick your brain. I feel like what we're about to talk about will be very valuable to, real estate agents that are listening in, maybe a brand new agent that wants to go do what you did, and what you've done is not normal, right? I'm sure you know that. Most people don't come out of the gate. As you know, 87% of realtors, according to the NAR, get out of the business in 2 years or less, right? So it's extremely rare that, people get in and do what you did. So talk to me about that. Year one, you did how much?
So year one, I did about 18 transactions for about 6 million.
Wow. So year one, 18 transactions for 6 million. That is about 1.2 or 3 deals a month. And then year two, talk to me about that.
So year two, jumped it up a little bit to about 30 for about 8 or 9 million in between there.
Okay, 8 or 9 million. Average price point being what?
Average price point was a little bit lower. I mean, you could probably do the quick math, but I want to say it was in the 300s, maybe high 200s.
And then year three.
And then year three jumped it up quite a bit more, up to 62 transactions for about 26 million.
I'm not that great at math, but 62 transactions divided by 12, what are we talking about? Like
That's about
five
Yeah,
transactions
about 5.
a month? So, here you are, right? Year three as a real estate agent in Washington State, right? Doing 62 transactions, okay? I know teams that don't do that many transactions, right? Like, at the end of the day, that's a lot of transactions. So let's dive into this a little bit. Like, why did you get into real estate? And then let's kind of progress towards how in the world you were able to do that many transactions. So go back in time a little bit.
Okay.
Did you always want to get into real estate? I mean, what was the game plan?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, it was totally on a whim. So my dad was in a different industry his whole life, liquor and wine business. About 6 months before I graduated college, he got his real estate license. And I saw him do that. He started off doing pretty well. He was doing deals right out of the gate. And I was, didn't have a job lined up after college, so I was like, why don't I get my real estate license? Why don't I try it out? So that's how I got into it.
Wow. So it wasn't like you had, a bunch of family in the business that trained you and helped groom you. I mean, more or less, you were one of the first people?
Right. But I will say having my dad by my side the whole time was invaluable.
Yeah.
I couldn't have asked for a better partner to do it with.
For sure, yeah. So you had a partner going into it. When you got into real estate, did you just join a brokerage or what did you do?
Yeah, I just joined a traditional brokerage, it was a great brokerage to start out at.
Yeah.
Great training, felt like a family. They had all the back end stuff, transaction coordinators, all of that.
Got it. So they gave you a lot of the tools. Were they giving you leads at the time or was it all self-gen?
It was all self-gen.
Okay.
Yeah, so no leads from the brokerage.
And how old are you?
27.
27. Yeah. So at the time you were what, 23? How old would you have been?
Oh, when I first started?
Yeah.
Yeah, 23.
23, okay. So 23 years old, they're not giving you a bunch of leads. You don't have Zillow, I would imagine, at the time, right?
I got Zillow pretty early on.
Okay.
Almost immediately when I started.
Zillow Premier Agent?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
And that being said, getting Zillow that early probably wasn't the best thing. It was great because I got out there and I started doing business, but I wasn't prepared for those leads that were coming in.
Gotcha.
Because I knew nothing about the business.
Talk to me a little bit about that, right? Because I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people watching deal with that. I mean, like, I know a lot of people that get into we don't learn really about real estate in real estate school, right?
Nothing.
And
Nothing about it.
like
Yeah.
nothing about it. And I mean, especially when it comes to like building the relationship, knowing the market,
Mm-hmm.
understanding the different communities, like practically understanding how to negotiate a deal. You know, the contract you learn a tiny bit about in school, but not really. I mean, not that, in my opinion at least, I mean, you don't learn enough to actually go out and do a deal. I mean, you still need to either go screw it up or you need somebody to like lean on, right?
Right.
So what did you do? Because a lot of times that'll paralyze a person, right? But it didn't paralyze you. You had Zillow, you had these good leads coming in. And again, you know, somebody else might have said, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and you didn't. You went out and you did it anyways.
I think it's so important to have a support system around you. So I had this brokerage that felt like a family. So I always had people to go to ask questions, bounce ideas off of. Then I had my dad too, to just, you know, I'm really struggling with this, or I'm worried about doing this, or I'm kind of scared to go do this. And it was great to have that support system. Otherwise, I think I would have been so scared to go out and do these transactions for people, you know, that are twice my age, buying $500,000 house. And I'm like, I've never done this before.
Yeah.
But
You had people to lean on at the time.
exactly.
Right? So you had your dad to lean on, you had your brokerage to lean on. Were you at some like major brokerage?
It was the biggest one in my area.
Okay.
Yeah, and so my area is kind of funny because it's not a big metro like Phoenix is with millions of people. It's like a massive suburb. So the population's about 250,000 people. The next biggest city is 2 hours away.
Wow.
So we're just kind of our own little bubble.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a massive market by any means.
No,
right?
there's about 1,000 agents.
Yeah. So, I mean, now we're in Phoenix. We have 85,000 agents.
Yeah, something like that.
You know, a little bit of a different ballgame down here.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's it been since you moved down here?
So I will say it has started off slow, but it's similar to when I first started in real estate. Like I didn't start doing deals right out of the gate.
Yep.
I think, you know, technically started in 2018. So my first 3 months, I think I did one deal.
Yep.
So I wasn't expecting to jump into a new market and do 62 deals right off the bat. But I think that I will be able to get to that point much quicker, having been in the business for 3 years, 4 years.
And what do you think that's based on? Like what the skill set that you have, the confidence, the belief, all of the above? I mean, like what enables you to believe that you can now come into a new market and break through barriers in a shorter period of time? Maybe not day one, like you said, right?
Yeah.
But quicker than maybe somebody else.
I would say all of the above, like you said, but also just the soft skills and the confidence that comes from having done, you know, over 100 deals. I know how to talk the talk. I know what a transaction should look like, you know, from beginning to end. I know how to talk to buyers. I know how to talk to sellers. And it's always a work in progress, but I already had that groundwork that was already done in the past 3 years in Washington.
Yeah, that's awesome. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced, like those first couple years in the business, aside from like not knowing anything about the industry, and that that's obviously a big challenge, right?
Yeah.
But what were some of the other challenges that you ran into?
Feeling like I had no idea what to be doing, because you're kind of your own boss, so you don't really, you know, you don't have a schedule maybe, or you don't know what to do day to day. Sometimes I just find myself sitting in front of the computer, like just staring blank at the computer, like what should I be doing right now?
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest thing, was trying to nail down an actual schedule to have.
Right. And what did you do to nail that down?
Lots of YouTube, lots of watching, like, you know, like Tom Ferry and all these coaches on YouTube talk about what kind of schedule you should have, how you should break it up, what's the most successful way to build out your day.
And so talk to me a little bit about what that schedule looked like. Like after you started to build it out, like what did you start to unravel? Like what did you start to find? How did you start to block off your day?
So I had the pretty basic structure where, you know, you have a morning routine. So for me, I'd work out in the mornings. Then I'd go into the office and do my, you know, lead gen or prospecting in the morning, have lunch, and then afternoons just open for whatever, appointments. And then once you start doing deals, you realize, like, you have so many random things going all over the place. Inspections, you got to get back to your computer to send off, you know, an inspection notice or an appraisal or whatever. So it's hard to juggle once you start getting really busy. I think that's probably why you know, develop a team later on once you start doing a lot of deals. But that pretty much basic structure: lead gen in the morning, prospect in the morning, appointments in the afternoon.
Yeah, 100%. What did that prospecting look like for you back then? Like in the very beginning, like when you first started to realize like, okay, I got to prospect every day. This prospecting probably changed and evolved over time. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But what did it look like back then?
So I guess the number one biggest piece of advice I got when I first started was just tell everybody that you got your real estate license. So it was just social media. It was like Instagram, Facebook, just posting like, so proud to have just got my real estate license, letting everybody know I'm in the business. And then just consistently posting about real estate. So that your entire sphere thinks of you when they think of real estate.
Right.
So
did anybody give you that advice? I mean, like, do you remember specifically somebody telling you like, hey, you got to tell everybody you're in real estate and you got to be out there and like, here's what you should do? Or did you just learn it on YouTube?
I think it was my sales manager at the brokerage. He was like, because I probably asked him, I was like, so what do I do now? Like, how do I get started? And they had classes every week, which were helpful, contracts classes, business meetings. But then I was like, okay, so how do I start getting clients? And he's like, do open houses, post on social media, pretty much the basics.
Yeah. You have quite the following on TikTok, or at least you're making a lot more progress than like your average agent, right? And you do a lot of like, what would you call the type of content that I see a lot of you on TikTok? You're kind of walking people through like a home in a particular area, giving them like, is it like what you can afford type of thing? Is that kind of the content or?
Sort of. It started out being a lot of green screen stuff, so I could show these houses that are really expensive, like a $20 million house that I can't just go, schedule a showing for because the agent's going to be like, well, who's your buyer? Are they pre-approved? I have to be present at the showing. So just doing green screens showing this is the most expensive home listed this week in Scottsdale, or this is the cheapest home listed this week in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of evolved to where I'm like trying out different things and seeing what will work and just trying to make myself the digital mayor. Yeah. That I know everything about Scottsdale.
I love that.
Which I'm trying to learn too. I'm only 8 months into living here, so.
Yeah. Did you do any of that, type of content in Washington?
No, I did not have a TikTok in Washington. I think I had a TikTok, but I was posting just random stuff about my day. Yeah. Went to the gym, so I posted like a gym video or whatever.
What made you start doing that particular type of content when you moved here?
I saw how much traction people were getting from some real estate videos, and I knew that social media worked for me in the beginning when I started in Washington. Because my sphere was on there, they were seeing me post like that. And I was like, okay, I need to make a new sphere. How can I network, but how can I network quickly and with a lot of people? And that seemed like the best way was to try and get, a lot of views, a bigger following. Yeah, I love that. What like, you say you're like playing around with like this type of content now, right? And you're trying different things. And I've seen you've had a couple of viral videos on TikTok, or a couple of videos that have gotten a lot of views. So what are the different things that you're experimenting with, and what are you learning? So I'm learning that the algorithm is always changing, and I think a lot of creators are probably seeing a big drop in their viewership on TikTok. I'm learning that the hook is super important, like all the little aspects of it. Yeah. But I think what I'm trying to go for at this point, it's not like I'm trying to blow up that page to be like 1 million followers. I just want it to be hyper local, all about Scottsdale, because that's the only reason I made that page is just for real estate in the specific area. It's not to be like an influencer. Have you thought at all about doing like a YouTube channel and doing a similar type of content? Yeah, so I did make a channel. Okay. It's a work in progress. I got like 56 subscribers. Like 5 or 6 videos. I got one coming out this week. Okay. It's called Living in Scottsdale. So I'm just kind of basing it off of, there's like living in Dallas, Texas, living in Austin, Texas. And I saw their success with those pages, so. Massive success. I've talked to a lot of people like that. Yeah. We were just at the EXP conference in Vegas, and I met a couple of the big living in channel owners, and a couple of them get a lot of business from the YouTube channels that they have. I think the living in Dallas, Texas, I think they made like $1 million in commissions in a year just from YouTube. Just from that, and that's insane. Just what they can track, like from that, right? Which is like, how do you track like where they initially saw you, So I'm sure it could have even been more. Yeah. What are you learning now with that YouTube channel? Like, walk me through this living in Scottsdale video. What does it look and feel like? What are you doing in the video?
Like, are you in your office? Do you got like a nice backdrop like this? Are you out in the streets of Scottsdale? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, so I've been working on the camera, the lighting. It's hard. It's like I've been watching YouTube videos to set up the lighting and everything, but the backdrop is just like desk, shelving, a little light, and it's me talking into the camera. And then I'm doing a lot of like jump cuts and B-roll and different things to make the video a little bit more engaging. Because I see a lot of them, like the Living in Dallas, Texas, it's kind of bland. It does really well, but it's just kind of bland. Doesn't make me want to keep watching.
Yep.
But that's kind of what it is, just me in front of the camera.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what are you learning, like, in the process of making YouTube videos as in comparison to, like, a TikTok? Like, for somebody watching, I feel like a lot of people, TikTok's an easier platform, right? Yeah. And Instagram, like, even for me, like, I still struggle with YouTube to this day, you know? And I've got probably a total of... If you've ever wanted to get into wholesaling real estate and you want to learn how to flip contracts and wholesale, right? Maybe you're brand new, maybe you've never wholesaled a deal, or maybe you're even doing a couple of deals a month right now, but you want to learn how to do more. Instead of joining my coaching program or somebody else's coaching program, we're actually looking to hire. So go ahead and message me 480-418-5339 and send me a text message opportunity. Okay, so if you want to work with me, you want to work with my incredible team, you want all of our leads, you want all of our systems, all of our processes, everything, right? And I've done about 2,000 wholesale deals in my career. Then go ahead, shoot me a text, 480-418-5339, and message me opportunity. And look, especially if you're in my state, okay, the state of Arizona. If you live in Arizona and you want to get into wholesaling, this especially is an opportunity for you, because you can come sit right in this office with my entire team and be a part of one of the biggest wholesaling companies in the country. I look forward to talking to you. Maybe 50,000 subscribers on YouTube between 3 different channels. So what are you finding is the main differences between like YouTube and TikTok?
Well, there's so much more work going into the YouTube video. I think so. Writing the script, you have to do all your research, and that part kind of worries me because I'm like, okay, I don't want to get these numbers wrong. I don't want to get the neighborhoods wrong. So just all the research going into that. And then I think a big part too is just the setup. You know, like this podcast studio is generally set up. You got your lighting in all the right places, mics in the right places. It's like for me, every time I make a video, I'm setting it all up, taking it all down, setting it all up, taking it all down. So I think like having a studio would be invaluable for that.
And why is it that you don't have a studio right now? Like, what's stopping you from having like a setup at your home or like where you live or what have you?
Well, I mean, I guess I have a 1-bedroom apartment because when I first moved down here, I was like, I want to know the market before I buy myself a house. So I'm still in that apartment. Ideally, when my lease is up, I'm going to buy a place and I'll probably make a studio out of a bedroom. But for the time being, it's probably just going to be set up, take down, set up, take down. Or use a studio here.
Do you have a girlfriend?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, you just leave your setup in your living room then.
I could, but I'm OCD. I couldn't have all that stuff in there. Yeah.
You just got to do some cable management. You know, where you don't have everything going everywhere, right?
True, yeah.
I've had a lot of studios and a lot of living rooms of mine, you know. I love that. So walk me through like some pieces of advice that you would have. You know, what types of marketing would you do? Like if you got into the business again for the first time, right? Like what would you do differently?
Oh man, I would put money towards marketing. I would like put money towards lead generation. I would do paid leads right away if I had the money for it. That's what I would do because I think it's the easiest and quickest way to get started. And then once you have those clients from those leads, you can leverage that into more business. It's all about leveraging the clients that you've already had.
For sure.
Getting referrals. They're going to sell later on in their life. So,
what types of lead gen? You said you had Zillow back in the day, right? What other type? Have you ever dabbled with any other types of lead generation, like back in Washington before?
No, not online. Just Zillow online. I did a lot of open houses. I was doing like 4 open houses a weekend for like almost a year straight.
Wow. How many buyers would you say, or sellers, I guess too, did you get from doing open houses as much as you did back then?
I don't think I have a number on it. Maybe like 10,
Roughly
10% of my business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would
But
you say it was worth it?
I think it was worth it for the skills that you develop doing it. But that being said, there were a lot of times that I spent 3 or 4 hours with nobody showing up. So there's that too.
For sure. I mean, what I always tell people is like, if you're in an open house, just do what you would be doing at the office or at your house or whatever, but at the open house, right? So you're killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
And when people aren't walking in, you're making a video or you're posting on your social media or you're prospecting, you're calling expireds or FSBOs or whatever, you're building relationships is what we do at the end of the day, right? In real estate, the number one thing I believe that we do as agents, investors, really anything, especially as agents though, is building relationships. We're in a relationship game, right? I think that Scottsdale, Phoenix, you can make a lot of money doing open houses. So I'd be curious to see where that takes you.
Okay.
Right. So you went and you made a lot of money. I mean, you think, okay, 23 years old, how much commission income would you say in your first 3 years of real estate that you made?
Let's see. Pretty close to $1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money, right? So here you are, you made $1 million. What did you do with it?
So a lot of it went to real estate, like a massive amount.
I want to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did it go? What was your first, I assume investment properties. We've talked about it, right? So walk me through that first investment deal that you did. Do you remember it?
Yes. So the first investment deal was a flip.
Okay.
So that was just a manufactured home on 2 acres. It was a hoarder house, disgusting. They had, just cat shit everywhere, just magazines piled up. They're just living in trash. It was gross, but that was the first deal, was a flip. It turned out beautiful. It turned out amazing.
Where did you find the deal?
That was from a wholesaler.
A wholesaler, okay.
Yeah.
So in Washington, right, from a wholesaler, you bought the deal. What'd you buy it for? Do you have any idea? Do you remember?
Oh, gosh.
Roughly?
Maybe 160.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you remodeled it yourself, or you hired people? What did you do?
Yeah, so, it was me, my dad, and we didn't really do a lot of the work. A lot of the work we did was like demo and cleanup, and then...
Demo's the funnest part.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then all of the skilled labor, like tile work, laying floors, all of that was contracted out.
I love that. Yeah. Do you have any idea what you spent on that first deal?
Oh, gosh. I have the numbers in my phone, but it's probably around 40.
Okay.
40 or 50.
And then any idea if you made a profit, and if you did, how much?
Yeah, so I think it ended up selling for $290.
Okay.
So let's say 50 in repairs, so that's $240, and then let's say like 8% in costs. So yeah, I think we ended up coming out like about $40,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially for your first one ever, And I bet you that had to feel good. I mean, that was like a big victory for you, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Anytime you do a deal where it's your first flip, your first deal as a realtor, your first wholesale deal, your first rental property, whatever that first thing is, man, every time, for me at least, every time I do the first one, I'm like, whoa, like if I did it once, I could do it again. And if I could do it again, I could do it 100 more times. And if I could do it 100 more times, I could do it 1,000 more times, right? So what would you say then, like how long until you were like, whoa, like I gotta get my hands on another investment property?
I think so. Pretty soon after that, we got a pretty cool deal. So, me and my dad got from this wholesaler. It was 2 super old houses, like prefabs, that were sitting on big enough lots that they could be subdivided. So we bought these 2 houses, fixed them up. They were probably 50s built. Flipped one of them, kept one as a rental, subdivided them. So the back of the lot was its own new lot. Built 2 houses on those, and then a side lot on the other one was able to fit another house. So built 3 houses, flipped those 2. So 5 properties total.
That's awesome.
That was a cool deal. That was a really cool one that worked out and made a lot of money.
And so you sold all of them?
Kept one.
Kept one.
Kept one, yeah.
You still have that one?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I actually, so those 5 deals happened right there. Across the street was vacant land. We were able to buy that land for like $60,000, subdivide it, so $30,000 each, built 2 houses on that. I bought one of them. Okay. So I was living in that house for like a year and a half, 2 years, and then had the rental right behind me.
Nice.
So that was a cool little setup. It was like our own little block right there.
Wow, that's awesome. And so you built those houses from the ground up then when you subdivided that land?
Yeah, I mean, we weren't the general contractor
sure.
on it, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you hired the people, you did all the, I mean, you pulled it off, right? I mean, you connected all the dots and you made it happen. So walk me through that process. I mean, here you are, you're an agent. You've made, at this point, by the way, how far into your career were you? I mean, was it year 1, year 2?
This was towards the end of 2019, so
Okay.
this is like 1.5 years in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a year and a half in, you've done maybe at this point, what, 40 traditional like retail deals?
Yeah, probably
at that point,
about 30,
give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Here you are, you've done a mobile home, you flipped that, right? Now you're doing this bigger project and you're buying the land across the street and you're subdividing and you're going through, I mean, there's quite a bit that goes into that, right? I mean, you're at the city, I would imagine, you're like pulling permits and getting, you're doing all kinds of different stuff. Like, what did you learn throughout that process?
The city's slow. The city is very slow. That's a big thing. With anything that you need to get done, just overcompensate on the amount of time it's going to take. You know, if a builder says it's going to take 3 months, it's going to take 6.
Yeah.
They say 6, it's going to take a year. That was a big thing because it took. I mean, that whole process ended up taking, a year and a half, 2 years for everything to be pulled off.
Yeah.
And a big part of it too was just me and my dad both being in the business because he was able to handle a lot of the generaling and the contractor stuff while I focused on generating income to fund it. So I was doing, residential sales to fund that kind of stuff.
Sure. And what did your day to day look like then at that point in time? I mean, you say you're generating you're the breadwinner, right? In that moment, like what were you doing? Were you just still prospecting at that time?
Yeah, a lot of prospecting, ramped up Zillow. I was taking all of the Zillow calls. So as opposed to him getting them, me getting them, I was taking 100% of them. So a lot of it was just being in the business of being an agent. So lots of showings, lots of phone calls, lots of texting, lots of follow-up.
Just in the day-to-day, in the thick of it, right?
Yeah.
What was one of the biggest challenges during that time while you're building these? I mean, I get that your dad is like primarily facilitating everything and you're more over here, but like what were some of the challenges that you guys faced back then?
Oh man, I feel like you can wing it at a high level, and I feel like a lot of it was just winging it at a high level, not having like systems or processes in place. Because you can go out and make $500,000 but not know how to repeat it or do it again or feel like mentally sane while you're doing it. You're just working so many hours, and I think that was a big part of it. Like I think the challenges were in the relationships that I had, friendships, girlfriend, and being able to balance everything.
Yeah. And what was that like? I mean, why was it so difficult to balance? Obviously, I mean, I know as an entrepreneur that balancing anything as an entrepreneur is difficult, right? I run, I've built like 10 companies, give or take, and I do a lot of stuff currently, and I still struggle to this day to balance everything. I still don't know that I have any idea what the hell I'm doing.
Right.
In terms of the balance aspect of it, at least, right? So, like, what kind of happened there? I mean, you start to look around and relationships aren't doing as hot as you thought they should be, or?
Well, so in 2020, like right when the pandemic hit, me and my girlfriend broke up, and so that was a whole devastating thing for me too. It's like, oh shit, pandemic hit. Now my girlfriend broke up with me. She moved away to California, and so then I'm sitting there, having no motivation to work. And feeling kind of lost. And so that was definitely a difficult time to where I was thinking, okay, how do I bounce back? How do I get back that motivation and get back into the busyness of it all? But I think, like you said, you're constantly learning.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has it down, to a T.
What did you do when you were in that moment, right? And you felt like the motivation wasn't there. You just dealt with one trauma after another, right? I mean, it was your girlfriend, and it was the pandemic. And I think it's easy to just lay on the couch, right, and turn on the TV. It's easy to go to the bar and drink. It's easy to fill in the blank, right?
Yeah.
Like, what did you do? I mean, I'm sure you did some of that too.
I did some of that,
right?
For sure.
And we all do, right?
Yeah.
But then, at what point, like, did you make the shift, and what did that look like for people watching?
Well, I mean, part of it is I drove down to California and got her to come back to Washington, and we got back together. So that was part of it. But besides that, I mean, I think that was a big part of it, actually.
Yeah.
We got back together, and I was like, okay, I'm focused again. Let's get going.
Are you with her to this day?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So how much longer did it last once you got back together?
About a year.
About another year.
Yeah,
Okay.
about a year and 2 months. Yeah.
Okay. What you just got in your car one day and you're like, I'm gonna drive to California and win her back?
Oh, I said I was going to drive to Arizona
Uh-huh.
for vacation, but I made a little pit stop in California.
Yeah.
And then ended up staying there for like a week or two.
Okay.
And then it all worked out that she came back. But yeah, then it ended about a year later, and then same kind of process that you go through with a breakup, feel kind of lost. Then I moved here to Scottsdale, and now I'm slowly building back up to where I was before.
Do you think moving helped? Like, I mean, when you think like, I've seen a lot of people over the years where, they'll go through some difficult season of their life, especially like in the younger generation. I feel like we see it now more than ever where, like people will move away from their hometown or move away from the familiar, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll go to the unfamiliar, the mm-hmm. place where they don't know a bunch of people and they don't know the lay of the land, right? Mm-hmm. And they restart it. It makes them more resilient and more mm-hmm. Able to overcome, and I mean, do you think any of that's true for you?
Well, it's funny because TikTok constantly is bringing up this same quote for me. I don't remember the quote, but it's basically saying you can travel, but you can't escape yourself. Mm. And I think the TikTok algorithm knows me because that's exactly what I was doing. And so I think it can work for some people, but at the end of the day, you're always going to be left alone with your own thoughts, left alone with yourself. So you really have to get past that. A new place isn't going to make you mentally stronger.
I love that. I love that answer. So what then did you do, or what could somebody do to do the deep dive, right, into mm-hmm. themselves and overcome the internal battle, the internal challenges? I mean, mm-hmm. like, what is that process? What did it look like for you?
Go to therapy, see a counselor, definitely talking to people about it. I think that was huge for me.
Yeah.
Actually trying therapy. Some people can be so resistant to therapy because they're like, I don't want to talk to somebody about my problems, or that's not going to help.
Those are typically the people with the most problems.
Yeah, 100%.
From what I've found.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of therapy. I'm a big fan of talking to people. As an entrepreneur, I was that guy one time, right, where I didn't want to talk to anybody, and I still struggle to this day. But the more transparent you are, the more vulnerable you are with what you're going through. And as anybody that goes and makes $1 million in a couple of years, right, stuff comes, like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, mm-hmm. right? Like you're going to go through stuff. Things are going to happen. It's life, mm-hmm. right? And I think it is important that we overcome our internal battles and we start to, be okay with who we are and love ourselves and have that self-love. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So now that you're here in Arizona, what are you focused on? Like, what are you doing here in terms of the real estate world?
So I think right now my focus is get back to where I was before. So 62 deals, 26 million. I want to get back to that as fast as possible because I know I can do it because I've done it before.
Yep.
And then from there, it's just continuing to grow those numbers even higher. At the end of the day, I don't know if I really want to start a team or a big team, maybe a very small team, but that's never been my goal. I would more enjoy like being in the investing side of things, flips, rental properties, development. I'm more interested in that as opposed to growing like a big real estate team.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a lot we could do with that because I want to do way more of that. And I'd love to flip more. I've done a lot of flips. I've wholesaled, obviously, a lot of homes, as you know. I've probably wholesaled 1,500, maybe 2,000 homes at this point. And so we could definitely do more in that area for sure, which is why we're here today, right? Mm-hmm. One of the reasons we're here today.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. What would you, like, here you are, you're on a team now, right? Our team, and you haven't been here for too long, so you might not be able to answer this to the best of your ability. But, I see a lot of new agents out there that are, like, where you were year one, but in 2022 or going into 2023. So now it's a different time, right? Like the market's shifting, and I think a lot of realtors are about to fail, in my opinion. I really believe that. I think that more than ever before, we're about to go through a season where a lot of people are going to get out. People that have been in for a long time, people that are just going to get out, right? So, like, do you think it's important to join a team? And you said, like, back in the day when you joined that brokerage, like, that it was a phenomenal brokerage at that time, right? And you're glad that you had that family and that culture and the people that were there for you. Do you think that's important for newer agents to find that?
100%. That, if not join a team. If I could go back, I would probably join a team. If that brokerage had like a team structure, I would have joined a team at that brokerage. But I think for a new agent, it's so invaluable to be around so much real estate, so many conversations, hearing things, picking up on things. So important. Maybe you're not getting a bunch of leads from them, but you're getting all this other knowledge about soft skills that you need to develop to be a better agent.
The intangible stuff.
Exactly.
Right. And I'm so with you there. I think that people massively underestimate the value of that. I see it day in and day out, right? And it was something that I always got good at back in the day. I was always hanging around my mentors at the time, and I gave up a lot of my commissions and a lot of my deals. And heck, there have been many times in my life where I made 10, 20% on a deal, right? For hundreds and hundreds of deals. But I gained so much wisdom. I gained so much knowledge. I gained lifetime friendships, and I gained all this intangible stuff that I couldn't measure at that time. But I had faith that it would play out the way that I envisioned it, and I would become a part of the good old boys club, right? And now here we are, and now I have some of the biggest relationships in the industry. I know everybody in the industry. And had I let my ego get in the way back then, or my pride, I probably would have wanted to go and like do it all myself, like a lot sooner than I did. If you're a real estate agent or a real estate wholesaler, then you know that lead generation is one of the most important aspects to any business. You know that you have to consistently generate leads on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. That way your team has people to call, and that way you're constantly getting new opportunities in your company. I actually partnered up with a company called Rocket Lead Services, and they have VAs that are outbound cold calling on your behalf every single day. In my experience, there's a lot of different ways that you can generate leads as an agent or as a wholesaler. You can do pay-per-click, you can drive for dollars, you can do text messaging, you can do Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and so much more. In my experience, I believe that cold calling is by far the number one way to generate leads in 2022. Not only is it my favorite way, but it is the highest ROI from what I've ever found. So Rocket Lead Services is one of the best companies out there for doing just that. They have virtual assistants that get assigned to you and to you only that are constantly calling motivated sellers to generate leads for your business. Again, this is for anybody looking to generate seller leads for their business. This is for a solo real estate agent looking to do a couple of deals a month, all the way to teams that have over 100 agents and you're looking to generate more leads for your team. Wholesalers that are looking to generate more seller leads, all the way to wholesalers that are looking to do many, many deals per month. Go to www.rocketleadservices.com and go ahead and book your free consultation. Again, that is www.rocketleadservices.com and book your free consultation. Now, let's get back to the show. Whereas for me, I was really patient in that, right? I didn't really try to go branch off and do it myself until I had done a lot of freaking deals and made a lot of other people a lot of money, right? And I never really wanted to do it myself either. I actually never wanted to start a real estate team. It was never a part of what I wanted to do. So I'm with you there. It kind of like, I was kind of like, it just happened.
It happened.
It happened. Yeah. I was going to say I was forced into it, but I wasn't forced.
But now you have big goals for it, right?
I do. Yeah. I have very big goals. And that's why we're sitting here today with guys like you, because I think it takes dudes like you doing 100 deals a year to get this team to where it should be, right? Because the more money now that the team can make, I can take a way bigger marketing spend and go invest it into plastering the entire valley, right? Wrap the buses and do infomercial and radio and TV and billboard and you name it, pay-per-click. I mean, we could do a lot of marketing, right? Where a solo agent would never be able to do that. And I can't even do it with a small team. It takes a big team, right? So we're not even there quite yet. But I do know that we're getting there. And then dudes like you are the guys that get all the opportunity because you're the dudes that are driving all the deals, right? So I think it's cool. I really look at myself as just like more of the facilitator. Like I'm like the bank, right? Like in a weird way. It's like I take a percentage of everybody's money and then I invest it and I hire people and I create cool office space. And I'm just going to keep doing that, right?
Yeah.
So the teams aren't really that profitable. the team is not where I make money, really. I mean, not to any degree that you'd be jacked out of your mind about, right? At a certain point, maybe there would be more profit, hypothetically, but retail teams are not as profitable as people think they are. Good thing we have a bunch of other stuff that we do. That's where we make our money, right? So the retail team is more of the ancillary of like, why wouldn't I do that? Because like I can help people and we can build a really cool thing and spend a bunch of money on marketing and we can be known by everybody, right? And then I can give dudes like you a bunch of really cool opportunities one day.
Yeah.
And it's just a great way to network. Here we are right now doing a podcast and you're telling me you want to get more into the investment space and you want to flip more and own more rentals. And I want to do all those things, but I don't have the time. So for somebody like me, it takes people like you where I'm like, dude, like let's just partner on this stuff. Right. And those are the cool relationships that you get to build long term. Who knows? Maybe you and me own 1,000 properties one day.
That'd be amazing. I'd love to do that.
Same here. Right. And so that's why I like having a team, I think, right? Is I get to go to all my team members and I get to build stuff with them too. It's not just about them helping me. It's like totally the opposite, actually. It's like, how can we help each other? Like, how do we win together? This isn't about like you helping me go get rich. Like, that's not my goal. How do we get rich?
What's your vision for the team too? Like how many agents, volume, all that?
We've gone back and forth. I think that like it's not just a numbers game. Like it is and it isn't, right? I'm at a point now where I don't want bad agents. So like if we have bad agents, like you will see like us cut fat. Like there's a couple people right now that,
And there's a difference between maybe like somebody just starting out and somebody actually being a bad agent.
Exactly, right? Total difference. Somebody that, look, you were once brand new to the industry. I was once brand new to the industry, right? But a guy like me or you, brand new, is different than somebody who's just not a good agent, right? And you said it perfectly. So you're very right about that. I think I can't teach drive and ambition, right? Like there's certain things I can't teach. So if somebody doesn't have these necessary components to become successful, then I can't teach that, right? Now, if they do have that and they just don't have the experience, they don't have the knowledge, I can teach them that, right? So those are the types of people we're looking for. So to answer your question, maybe 100 agents, I don't know, but not tomorrow. I mean, like, we gotta. It's one day at a time, right? We might go from 34 to 35, and 35 to 37, right? And then, as time goes along, we got to build the infrastructure along the way, right? So I don't want to scale too slow. I don't want to scale too quick. I'm very intentional, right? I want to make sure that we have everybody on our team has to feel like they are, overflowing with opportunity before I'll bring on more people.
That's where businesses run into a lot of problems, right? Is scaling too quickly and not having the infrastructure to back it up.
Agreed. 1,000,000%. Yeah, it's the fire ready aim mentality, right? And there's a catch. I mean, there's a line there, right? It's like, on one hand, it's easier to scale quickly than it is slowly, okay? That's a fact. I mean, momentum breeds momentum. So it's easier to do something fast than it is to do it slow, typically, okay? Especially in business. But you make a lot of mistakes along the way, and you've got to clean up a lot of crap along the way, right? So, like, if I go scale at the rate that I want to scale, we'll make a lot of messes. There'll be messes everywhere. And then people have to come clean it up, So it just depends on how quickly you're scaling, I think, and there's just got to be intention, I think, behind it. Like you gotta put thought into it. I think people will scale too quickly and they won't put thought into what they're doing. Yeah, it's just like they're all over the place.
Just because I can get 20 or 30 agents next week doesn't mean I should take them all.
Exactly. Yep. I could get 20 or 30 by tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I probably don't want any of them. So very much the truth. Yeah. Exactly. So. Well, I love it, man. What are a couple of the biggest things that you've learned now? Now, how many investment properties do you have at this moment?
10.
10. Okay. And you make pretty good money on those 10?
Yeah, pretty good. So 3 of them are Airbnbs, and just started that this year. First one in January, and then brought 2 more on. And
awesome.
So year to date, I think we're at about 102,000.
Wow.
In revenue, obviously, not cash flow.
For the 3 combined.
Yeah.
But they're all in Washington,
They're
right?
all in a very small, not a Scottsdale market.
Okay.
Yeah. Our average daily rate is like $150 a night. Okay. So it's much different.
Is it a touristy place where they're at?
No, it's very much a family-oriented. People are coming for all different things, maybe like sports, high school sports, weddings. We have a big area out there. It's called the Hanford Project. Have you heard of that before?
I have not.
So it was a nuclear project back in the day, back in the 40s, where they developed the nuclear bomb. That's right by our town.
Wow.
So it employs thousands of people. It's like multi-billion-dollar industry out there. So a lot of contractors come in working out there,
Yeah.
and they've used our Airbnbs for housing.
That's awesome. So very cool. So you said you got into Airbnb this year.
Mm-hmm.
So what did that look like? I mean, what did you just find the deals off the MLS? I mean, where did you find them? And then how did you walk me through the process a little bit?
Yeah, so the first one found on the MLS. It was in a really nice neighborhood right next to a golf course. Great shape property. Like, it was fantastic shape, little dated, had been sitting on the market forever, pretty ugly paint color outside. I didn't know why it had been sitting so long, but threw in a low offer. We countered back and forth. We ended up getting it, put a little work in, painted outside, did some paint inside, but that's about it. Everything else was pretty much good to go. I think the renovation probably cost like 10 grand because it was basically just paint.
Yep.
And then obviously furnishing, that was another maybe 15. But that was the first one. And I think I just got the idea for Airbnb after seeing so much on social media, like probably getting TikTok or Reels or going on YouTube and seeing these numbers that people are generating on short-term rentals versus traditional rentals. I mean, they take a lot of work. You're in the hospitality business. You're not in the real estate investing business. Like, you got to treat it like it's a hotel.
Yeah.
But I also thought, of the Airbnbs in my market, can we do this better than everybody else? Yes, 100%. And so our Airbnbs are always popping up as the number one on the feed when you go to search for Kennewick or Richland or Pasco. Those are the 3 cities.
And do you manage the Airbnbs yourself, or your dad, or who manages them?
Yeah, so I do all of the interaction. So all the back end on the Airbnb platform, interacting with the guests. We have a cleaner, which is huge to have a good cleaner because they can take care of a lot of small things too, like restocking.
Yep.
Then my mom takes care of decorating, keeping up to date on maybe anything new changing with Airbnb. She's always like sending me reels or TikToks of like, did you hear this is happening on this date with Airbnb? So she's always keeping up to date with that. And then my dad's there to help restock. He'll do a bunch of repairs, go check on the properties, make sure everything's in good working order. So it's kind of all family thing. We were all got different parts to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Financially, what did that look like when you bought them? Like, did you buy them? Did you split the cost with them? Did you raise the capital? Did you get conventional mortgages? Like, what was the financing like?
Yeah, so on that one, the financing was just a conventional loan. It's just under my name. So me and my mom and my dad have all used different loans for these 10 properties. Sometimes it's me and my dad, sometimes it's me and my mom, sometimes it's just me, sometimes just my dad. But just to get the loan, the best way to structure it so we can get the best rate, the best deal.
Sure.
And qualify for it, obviously.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you remodeled them, you furnished them, right? What about furniture? Like, talk to me about that. I mean, furniture is expensive for Airbnbs, right?
I have no clue. My mom handled all of that. She went on Overstock, got everything, because she had a better eye for it than I would, for an Airbnb. So
for sure. What challenges have you faced with the Airbnb business?
Oh man, so that first Airbnb, I think the second or third guest was selling drugs out of the house. Got called by a neighbor. They had people coming every 15 minutes from like 10 p.m. all the way to 3 a.m. And the cops didn't get called or anything, but we knew what was going on. It's like, why else would people be coming every 15 minutes? And I guess that's something that people do. They'll find a nice Airbnb in a nice neighborhood so the cops aren't thinking, there's nothing up here. Like, this is a nice area. Like, why would they be worried about a bunch of cars coming and going? But that happened, and they trashed it a little bit. There's dog hair, and we don't allow pets. They had some burn holes in the duvets and the comforters. Like, they were smoking cigarettes or a joint or something.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Interesting. And what happened? I mean, you kicked them out or wrote them a bad review? I mean,
wrote them a bad review, asked for some money back. They didn't give it, but Airbnb has air cover, which is awesome. So air cover, you can submit a request, and as long as you detail it enough and you show, like, this is how much this damage is going to cost and write an explanation, they'll pretty much cover it for you. Wow. So I got all the money back for all the damage.
That's awesome. And then there's no way for them to, like, leave you a bad review in that. I mean, why would they, I guess?
Yeah, they could, but the thing is, it's like I leave a review and they leave a review, but we can't see each other's reviews until we've both reviewed. So they could give me a 5-star, I give them a 1-star. We won't know until we've both already submit the review.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then, so you had that experience. Has there been anything else weird with the Airbnb stuff, or just that one main incident?
There's two other ones. One was like a high school party. I figured that was going to happen, you know. And you have to be a certain age to book it because I had them on Airbnb and VRBO. On VRBO, I didn't have the age setting, so like a 19-year-old booked it, and then they had a big party there. I called them and said, "Hey, you got to shut it down." And they're like kind of drunk, like, "Okay, you know, we'll get everybody out." 20 minutes later, still going on. Call them again. They said they get everybody out. Still nothing. Had to end up calling the cops because the neighbors were getting, you know, a little freaked out. And that happens all the time in Scottsdale. I'm sure that's like, you know,
that's a normal thing.
That's a normal thing, but in this neighborhood, not a normal thing at all.
Yeah, for sure. So. Well, Scottsdale's cracking down on it a little bit too. So the city is, and I know there's a lot of neighbors that are jumping behind the bandwagon, and we'll see what happens in the Scottsdale Airbnb world.
It's very interesting because so many people are looking into doing it.
Yeah. And
so many Joe Schmo people are looking into doing it, and that's not to discourage somebody from, you know, doing it and trying to make this kind of investment, but at the same time, I think people should be pretty serious about it and really look at the numbers and really look at what kind of investment it's going to take and how much time it's going to take.
Yep.
You know?
I could not agree more. Yeah. So. It's a big investment, especially in Scottsdale, right? I mean, you know, you got to go potentially buy $750,000 home. I mean, give or take, obviously, right? You can get into it cheaper. I'm, you know, just saying the average, you know, and then you've got to furnish it and you've got to, I mean, it's a big, it's not cheap. I mean, so you either need to know somebody with money or you need to have a bunch of money, right?
Yeah, and I think a big part of it too is that how well the Airbnb does is all going to be a factor of how well you run it. Like I've stayed in some Airbnbs that are just awful, just terrible Airbnbs, and I'm just thinking like, how could you rent out the house like this, you know? And then it just shows with the reviews and the nightly pricing. It's like, I want to stay consistent, Superhost, have 4.5+ stars on all the properties. So.
And are you a Superhost with 4.5 plus? Okay, good. Good deal.
I think
the lowest 4.9.
Yeah, 4.9 on all of them.
I think you have to be 4.9 in order to stay a Superhost, don't you?
It's either 4.9 or 4.8, but you have to stay up there, and it's
you can't be at like a 4.
No,
and be a Superhost.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Interesting. How many bookings do you think you've had total now?
Oh man, probably.
You said you're at like over $100,000, right?
Yeah, I think it's over 150.
Okay.
Maybe closing in on 200.
Yeah. That's awesome. What is your long-term plan with all that? Just keep on keeping on? Buy more? I mean,
keep on doing. Well, yeah, we have one more that's it's a house that we're flipping right now. We're gonna hold on to it and make that one an Airbnb. So that'll be number 4. But just hold on and keep doing it while it's working.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure at some point the market's going to get oversaturated with short-term rentals. It hasn't happened yet, but it's kind of like pointing in that direction.
Yep.
We'll see how it goes. And then just pivot if we need to.
Yeah.
If we need to make it a long-term. We've made it so that the numbers are still going to work out as a long-term. It's still going to cash flow. So.
You probably got good financing on all of them if you bought them like a year ago.
Yeah. No, the rates are all really good on all of them. I don't think we have a rate higher than 4.5 on any of them.
Yeah, which is incredible. Yeah, because you could be at an 8.5 pretty easily right now. You
absolutely.
know? Especially for an investment property, if that's the route you go, you know. I love that, man. I know we're getting a little bit long here, but what would you say to like a new agent or somebody? Like, what are some tips that you have? It could be mindset. It could be anything that you would have as like a brand new agent if somebody were getting into the business right now.
I think it would probably be what other people told me, and it's find a team or find a mentor. So if you're at a brokerage, you're not on a team, find the best person at that brokerage and try and mimic them. Maybe not exactly what they're doing, but try and follow their kind of schedule. Because you'll see the people that are really rising to the top, they have their goals laid out, they have structure with their days. They're not just winging it. Yeah. So just find somebody to base your business off of.
I love that, man. Where can people find you on social media?
So Instagram at Braylon Hanson, TikTok at Braylon Hanson, YouTube, living in Scottsdale.
Love it, man. Yeah. And since you're a part of the family and we're going to become good friends and eventually buy 1,000 rental properties, we'll get you back on the show. So we'll get you back on at some point and we'll watch the journey together. You know, I'm excited to get you on here in a couple of months and see where we're at by then.
Cool.
Can't wait.
Awesome.
Appreciate you being here, brother.
Thanks, man.
Hey, if you're watching the show still, if you're on YouTube, make sure you smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Do me a favor, drop in the comments down below what you liked, And make sure you reach out to Braylon and let him know that you found him, you watched him, you appreciate him, you found value. And if you're listening to the show, make sure you leave a 5-star review. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode.